Well, first a new setup and now a new haircut. Yay! I finally got a haircut. Welcome any and all to the beginning of my X-Men reviews leading up to X-Men Apocalypse. Now, before I go into the movie at all, let me just explain why I'm doing this. The reason why I'm doing it is because I read an article a while ago, a long time ago, I think last year, a long time ago, but I read an article that was talking about a rumor that X-Men Apocalypse could be the last of its franchise, so they might actually reboot the movies again. Like they might, like they're not going to do the Days of Future thing, Days of Future Past thing, where they sort of reboot it, but with changing the timeline. So I don't know if this rumor is true, or if it's just a whole lot of horse pucky, whatever it is. But I'm going to do it anyway, because I do like the X-Men movies, and for this X-Men movie in particular, I think, well, it was the first one really, so, and really the first Marvel movie that people, like specifically Marvel, that people started to look at superhero movies of the Marvel Universe as like, wow, DC has got some competition, because people started to take Marvel really seriously, and I think a lot of Marvel success has to go to Bryan Singer, because he's the one that ultimately, in the end, I guess, kind of saved Marvel. All the while, this isn't one of the best Marvel movies, but it was one that really upped the game and changed everything for the Marvel movies, for anything Marvel. I mean, some might argue that Spider-Man did it, but in reality, X-Men came out before it. I guess you can say that X-Men and Spider-Man did it together, because they were the only good Marvel, properties that were being released at the time. But, it's all your opinion. Just, I think the honour goes to X-Men particularly, but I'll give it to Spider-Man as well, because I love Spider-Man. This is probably why I needed the table here, because I was able to have a laptop here. Now I can't have anything here, because there's nothing to put it on. So let me just go get my phone and use the help of IMDb. Okay, now we're booming. Okay, it was directed by Bryan Singer. It starred Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, Ian McKellen, James Marsden, Halle Berry. Everyone does a good job as playing their characters in this movie, no doubt in that. And I have to say, I really do like the kick-ass opening scene of the movie. So good. And this is actually Magneto, if you didn't know. It is Magneto. When I first watched this movie, I kind of knew it was Magneto because I had seen First Class before this, so chronologically I was watching it correctly. Unintentionally, by the way. But the opening scene is really kick-ass, I really like it, and the music in this scene is about the only score in it that I like. Everything else, I just don't like the soundtrack for some reason. Thank goodness they improved it in the second one. Now, the movie doesn't follow him. He's not the protagonist. He's the antagonist. But it does follow either Wolverine or Rogue. I'm going to say Wolverine because there have been a lot of... because he seems to be the protagonist of most of the X-Men movies. And I'm going to say that's a decision that kind of worked out for the X-Men movies. Worked out pretty well. I mean, we've gotten heaps of good stuff that has come out from him being the protagonist most of the time. And I'm going to say this for this movie and the rest of the X-Men movies, that I really like how it explores the outcasts that the mutants are, because this idea that to not judge people by their appearances, stuff like that, I think is a great conversation. Like, this movie is a great way of getting the point across, not to I can't remember the word. I can't remember the word for the life of me, but the point is that I like how this movie and all the X-Men movies uses the idea of mutants being outcasts, and how this can apply to everyday life, like reality, real things like racism, sexism, stuff like that. You can apply the idea of this movie to so many things in the real world. And you can, especially now, especially in this era, this day and age right now. So I like how it does that, and I also like how with Magneto's side he is trying to defend his kind, and in that, you know, defending his kind, he's sort of becoming what he's fighting against, which I think is really interesting. And what he's becoming is he's becoming the people that he's fighting against. He's becoming someone that in the world of the X-Men you would call a mutinist or something. Like, his mindset is every bit identical to what the humans to how the humans are reacting to the mutants. He's disrespecting them. He's, you know, saying that
we are the future, Charles, not them. They no longer matter.
Yeah, that didn't. I couldn't have said it any better myself. Straight up, the romance between Logan / Wolverine and Jean Grey is a little forced. I don't know if you guys know this, but when it comes to romance in movies, if I'm not invested in it, then it's worthless to me. It's no need to be in there. It's just pulls me out, and this romance isn't horrible as some romances are, but it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it needs to be in the movie. Now we get to the train station scene, which is good. I will say it's one of the most memorable scenes that comes out of this movie. And remember that scene that I was talking about earlier, not too long ago, where the opening scene with Eric Lencher in World War II, that scene. In this train station scene, this is when we learn that, like, if you're not an X-Men fan and you watch this movie and you see the opening scene and halfway through the movie you don't know what that scene was about, you will know by the time you get up to this scene, because that's when Eric, you know, mentions if you allow this registration act to happen, because there's a registration act that the government wants to put in place to basically give mutants a license to live, which is, I personally don't agree with that. I'm concerning that. I'm on Magneto's side, and it's what he says, which is,
let them pass that law and they'll have you in chains with a number burned into your forehead.
And like I said before, this is where you really start to understand his side of the story. They don't really have to spend that much time on him, but the parts they do, it's just done well enough for you to instantly be on board and not really appreciate what he's doing or how he's going about settling the dispute between humans and mutants. You don't necessarily agree with that. If you do, then you're a psycho. But so you understand your side of the story. You obviously understand Professor X's side of the story, because out of the goodness of your heart, you know that how Eric is going about this is not the right way. It's not the way. Okay, so quick rundown of Magneto's plan is to use the girl Rogue that I mentioned earlier in the video about whether or not she was the protagonist or not with Wolverine. Anyway, point is that I guess they're both the protagonists of this movie, of this particular movie, because yes, for the rest of the X-Men movies does follow Logan, but for this one specifically, I think it focuses on both of them, because with Magneto's plan, his plan is to, because everyone thought that Wolverine was Magneto's endgame, that he was somehow going to use him to achieve something, which was to basically mutate every human in New York into a mutant, and he's not. Didn't really see that coming, to be quite honest. I like surprises, especially in movies, and I didn't see that coming. I guess very stupidly I thought, oh, Magneto can control Logan, so he must have something to do with his plan, but he has absolutely nothing to do with his plan. His plan is to in fact use Rogue because Rogue's mutant power is to suck the life force out of both human and mutant, and when she does it to a mutant, she doesn't just suck their life force, she also sucks their power as well, so she can use their power, and when she sucks their power, it's amplified, and when Magneto has this machine that amplifies his power already, the amplified power is just big. So this is how he's going to achieve that goal of mutating all of New York. He's going to use Rogue, la-di-da-di-da, and you know what, not the worst plan in all of movie history. Well, I think that's it for this movie review. Next one is X-Men 2, X-Men United, X2. I don't know, that movie has so many titles, but I'm excited for that one, particularly because the movie is, I will go as far as saying it's as good as First Class. Go down, like and comment on this video, and subscribe to my channel for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and random videos. Bye bye.